So a lot of people have been commenting on my old lap guides wanting visual brake and throttle inputs on screen while watching the lap. The thing is, back when these videos were made, with the way I record these videos, that wasn't really possible. I always drive the lap and then record the hot lap in replay mode afterwards, and back then this information wasn't available in replay mode, so I couldn't do that, but now it is. Today I'm going to be driving at Spa and using the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. I'm going to be doing this with all of those older lap guide tracks that were a bit outdated, so I'm going to be driving hot laps just with the throttle and brake inputs on screen now. Stay to the end of the lap because I want to give some tips and some notes on some minor mistakes that I made during this lap and some other things that might be useful. I hope on top of the lap guides this is also quite useful to you. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you at the end of this video. So now that this lap's done, there are a few mistakes that I made and I want to point them out. One being around turn 7, the curb on the right here where I go over, I would not usually go over this curb. As you see, when I go over it and land on the tarmac again, it sort of unstabilizes and understeers it just a tiny bit. That would cost me just a tiny little bit of time. It's not ideal and might be a little bit harsher on the tires. I would not usually do that. Another small mistake that I made would be coming into turn 9. I should have probably used a little bit less curb and had a little bit later of an apex, because with the way I took the corner here, I end up very wide and on the very edge of the track limits and not very optimal exit. So I could have gained a tiny bit more time if I had a little bit later of an apex. A third mistake that I think I made would be coming into Pujon. I let off the throttle coming into the corner, and when I start getting back on the throttle again, you'll see I have another dip in the throttle before getting back fully on the throttle again. Now, I should have waited just a fraction of a second longer before getting on the throttle, then I'd avoid having that extra dip, and that would have gave me just a tiny bit extra time. So turn 13 here, I made a similar mistake as before. I just got on the throttle a tiny bit too early and ended up right on the edge of the track limits coming on exit, just getting away with it. And I didn't really lose that much time, but it's not quite the optimal line. If I'd waited just the tiniest little bit longer, it would have been a bit smoother of a line, and I wouldn't have panicked coming out the exit of the corner thinking I might have invalidated my lap. Just getting away with it here, but I'd suggest wait just a tiny bit longer before getting on throttle. A final thing that I would like to point out is coming into the last chicane. With the initial right-hander here, I think I went onto the curb a little bit too early. If I hit the apex a tiny bit later, I think the transition between the corners would have been a bit smoother and friendlier on the tires. I don't think I lost too much time doing this, but if you end up having oversteer, hitting the curb the way I do, then you're going to lose a lot of time. So it's best to just keep it smooth. Other than this, I think the lap was pretty good. I got a decent time out of it. It could have been a few tenths quicker, but yeah, I did change the setup a bit, which I will put in the description. Actually, no, I'll show it visually on screen at the end of this video after I'm done talking. But it's basically just a bit lower aero, so you get a bit more speed down the straights and just a bit more. It's less understeery through the corners. Optimally, you'll gain about half a second, but I can't say you'll gain much unless you're already pushing the limits with the default setups. So learn the track braking points, get the trail braking right, and make sure you do the trail braking in the right places. If you suddenly drop off the brakes on some corners, you're going to oversteer, and that's going to chop half a second off just like that. I mean, it's going to add half a second to your lap time, and you don't want that. Let me know what you think of this. It's not a full lap guide, but it's just in addition to those old lap guides that I didn't have the on-screen data showing. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again soon.